All right, the next step in your project number 2 is to create an outline. And for whatever reason, this is one of those steps that folks have struggled with in the past. And I guess, I probably just a disconnect with me and what they teach now versus what I learned going to high school and whatnot. But outline has a pretty specific meaning to me, and I'll show you a good example here. And what I want you to do is just create this outline for your paper that you're ultimately going to be writing. Okay, be a little different than what I show you in terms of a template. But let's take a look. Okay, this is on your deal, although I changed the due date down here from the one you have, but I'll probably get that updated. So you're going to create an outline for your final Project 2 paper. My instructions are going to be a bit ambiguous, and I'll tell you why in a second. So you're going to write a paper, about your chosen company, and you will have citations. As to the format of the citations, I'm not that concerned. Depending on the number, it might be that you're just using a couple of annual reports. Those can probably be cited right within the text. Just a simple citation of annual report 2015 or Church and Dwight annual report 2014, whatever it might be. Okay. The purpose is going to be, demonstrate why you might or might not want to invest in a company. So these are the things that absolutely have to be in there, right? Discussion about the industry, a brief history of the company, and a discussion about the company's strategy. And then, and I've got it in bold, please, an in-depth analysis of financial data. I want this section here, the analysis of financial data. This is a finance class. I want it to be as long as the other three combined. Okay, I want it to be longer than the other three combined. Okay, so what's the ambiguity? I talked about ambiguity up there, and it's going to be the importance of different financial data, and each company, and I'm going to go through over the next couple of weeks examples of companies. I may even look at some of yours and pop them up on the screen, and we'll talk about things to look for, right? Different financial data. What do I mean by that? Well, some industries tend to use some different standards. We spend a lot of time talking about ROA in banking. If you heard that a bank had a 1.8 ROA, they were a good bank. Okay, you just knew that, and that was kind of an industry standard. If you were to tell me that Apple had a 1.8 ROA, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. My guess is that would be terribly bad for Apple. Okay, my guess is that their ROA is substantially bigger than that. Okay, and so it's hard to make some of those apples and oranges comparisons, and so you got to have kind of a trade usage in there. You got to use the language and use the financial data that's important for that particular industry. Turnover may be a big deal in retail. Banks didn't have turnover. Okay, and so that's what I mean when I talk about that. That your particular industry may have certain things. Okay, the other thing that I put in there, or the reason there's some ambiguity, is because I want you to look for extraordinary events maybe, or different events, or things that have happened, or things that are gonna happen in your company that have been maybe outside the norm a little bit. Okay, I tell students sometimes that the toughest company to write a paper about is that company that's just consistently does good year after year after year. Okay, because it's hard to find then something that's that's kind of extraordinary. And I like you to look for those things. I want you to dig around a little bit and try to find some stuff and kind of scratch your head and go, ooh, I wonder what caused that. I remember a couple of years ago, one of the students in the class actually worked up here too, and chose Weight Watchers, and there was some weird things going on with Weight Watchers that year, and I can't remember now off the top of my head what they were. I think it had to do with some of the classifications of stock, or maybe classifications of some of the debt that they had. And her and I had to spend a decent amount of time trying to figure out what it was. It wasn't something that I could look at intuitively and understand, and so we had to do some digging into it, and hey, I love it. Okay, so if you're having an issue with something like that, hey, I saw this in the financial statements, I don't know what it means, you'll just make my day. I'll be able to then log in to your company or take a look at your company, and that'll give me a little opportunity to maybe check it out and see what might be different about it. And some of them I might know right off the top of my head. Others might require me to do a bit of research myself, and like I've said, I enjoy doing that. So I'm hoping that those are the types of things that you'll find. So the assignment due April 3rd is to simply submit the outline of your proposed paper. I do want as much detail as possible, kind of for this point, for an outline. Okay, and I'll review your outline. I want to make sure you're on track. Okay. Can't imagine that I'll make major changes, but So the more detail you want to push, the better, right? Because the more detail will give me an opportunity to review things. Okay, then email me, call me, whatever, if you have questions during the process. But again, an in-depth analysis of the financial data needs to be as long as the rest of the paper. Okay, so what's an outline look like? And again, for some of you, this will seem like, yeah, no kidding, but I'm amazed at how many times I don't actually get outlines back, and it doesn't have to be exactly this format, but it needs to be something like this, and you can either search, do a web search for some templates like this, or you can do a search right in Word. This is where I found this template. I just today did a search in Word and for an outline template, and there it was. So, okay. Every essay that you do, any paper like this, is going to have an intro and a conclusion. I probably every single semester, even though I tell you have to have an introduction and a concluding paragraph or paragraphs, okay, I end up deducting points from probably 1/3 of all the papers, simply because they don't have an introduction or a conclusion, okay, or both. So please, there's I'm not going to say it's easy points to get, but it's sure easy points to lose if you don't have your introduction and your conclusion. So then, first main point, and that does say strongest, second strongest, third strongest. I'm not so sure that I would put them in that order. I don't have any problems with that, but your strongest point is obviously going to be the finance, right? The in-depth analysis of financial data. I might go ahead and reserve that in this type of a paper. I know that's a little different, but that may be, you may have to add another point in there actually, but it may be your third or fourth. Okay, we had 4 in there, and I've only got 3 here. Okay, so it may be your fourth point, and I say that only because that kind of leads to your conclusion. So I've given you the main headings, right? First main point is going to be industry, right? Industry, okay. Yeah, I can't type, Second main point is going to be what the heck was it? History of the company, okay. History of company, and you'd probably put in your company name, right? And you'd probably put in what the industry is, and I want to know some stuff about the industry in which it competes. Is it the gun? I think I have one of those. Is it a retail? Is it specialty retail? Is it general retail? Is it quick service restaurants? Okay, and so that's what I mean when I say the industry. Tell me the industry in which it competes. What's its place in that industry? What's the total dollar amount? Can you find market share? Can you find things like that? If I was one that I've been following a little bit, I kind of looked at some of their food, and I wish they had one close to Montana, but Shake Shack, it's out in the east. Just looks good. It's kind of a burger and French fry, all those things that are horrible for you. But it looks like pretty good stuff. Okay, and so it's brand new. Okay, so its market share is really, really small, but it's an up-and-comer, right? And so that's what I'd have to say about the industry. The industry itself is huge, right? Quick service burger restaurants, imagine that. So you got McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Carl's Jr., In-N-Out, Sonic, I could go on forever, right? Okay, history of the company. You put in some subpoints, maybe founded, went public, whatever the case may be. And you want to use the subpoints up here, and that's what you're going to do in your outline, is make sure that you put in at least the subpoints, the A, B's, and C's, and in some of these, for sure, you'll expand. Founded, 1849, Sturm Ruger, sold to Winchester or something, right? And so make it so I at least get a really good feel for where you're going, but don't write the paper here in the outline. Okay, third is going to be a company strategy. Okay, and again, that part's going to be probably right out of the annual report. Okay, information there, so it shouldn't be too tough. You should have some subpoints about what their strategy is, how they intend to do it. Could you put their mission statement in there? Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely wonderful to have their mission statement in there. Okay, and then let's see if I can. Oh, it's not letting me do what I want to do here. Doggone it. I'm not sure. Well, shoot, I'd have to change this, and maybe it'll let me add one afterwards or something. We'll see here. So I'd make this 5 would be my in-depth financial analysis, right? Depth, financial, etc., etc. Okay. And then I would have to add down here, and it's not letting me do it, so I'd have to figure that out. Maybe a 6, right? Bold and oops. So I go bold. I'm sorry here, but I'm going to try to figure this darn thing out. And caps. I'm off there, so I might have to. This may not be the best template if it's not letting me do some stuff, but there's probably something in there I need to open up. Like I said, I just did this one, and so I'm not. And I honestly, I probably, if I were going to do it, I would just come here, go new, blank. If you come up here, okay, that's bullets, that's numbering, and here is multi-level list. And you can just kind of pick what you want, right? Boy, that looks a lot like the one we just did, okay? And it's blue, I guess, but there's one. Dang, how come it doesn't want to do that here? Again, shoot. Sometimes these darn things, I don't know why it wouldn't let me. Huh. I'll be darned. Should be continue numbering or something in there. Yeah. Sometimes that darn thing's kind of frustrating, but I'll go back up here and see what happens if I. There. I just had to click on that. Probably this one. There you go. And if I do this and probably hit tab, let's see if that does it. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit of a pain, but that would do it. I hope you guys will see. I'm just have to go up there and click on each one of those when I want each of the headings or whatever up there. Okay, and that would create an outline that way. And maybe I could get. Maybe I just wasn't doing the right things on here. Let's go down and see here. Sorry to waste a little bit of your time, but sometimes it's a little bit frustrating. Let me try that here. Ah, there it went, see? So I just had to go up there and click on that thing, and then it put in the right deal. And even made that one correct. So, okay, And then I'd have my conclusion. Who the hell's that? I can't spell, I can't type. Okay, so and both the intro and the conclusion. In the intro, you remember, you're just going to tell me what you're going to tell me. In the conclusion, you're going to tell me what you told me. Now, the key thing, you don't have to put what your conclusion is in your outline, but you should put in your outline that absolutely there has to be a recommendation of either to buy or sell, or what the analysts use sometimes is a hold recommendation, which is neither a buy nor sell. So you're kind of in between on it, and you're saying, maybe we ought to just hang on to it if we own it. And a hold would tell you not to buy it if you don't own it, probably. Okay? And so you have to have an intro, you have to have a conclusion, you have to have those 4 other parts. You can add more if you think it's relevant, okay, but you have to have those things, and you have to have a recommendation in there about whether or not to buy or sell that particular stock. There you have it. Okay, hopefully that'll get you going then on that outline. Sorry I messed around a little bit too much on the deal. Sometimes Word drives me crazy. They change it a little bit from what it used to be, and I haven't messed around with it enough, so shame on me. Have a good week, and next week, when I start doing these, I'll probably talk to you. Like I said, I'll get in and look at some companies, maybe even some of your companies, and start talking about the financials and the things I want you to look for. I probably won't spend a lot of time talking about the history and that stuff, but I'll start talking about the financials of those companies.